Hey there, everyone. This is Nick here with Hayes Gaming, here to talk to you today about a series that is very near and dear to my heart in their art book, The Art of Mana. Originally published as a spin off of the Final Fantasy series, it went on to become its own product, and, well, without any further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so I've already read through the Art of Mana book, and this is from the Secret of Mana. They started with They used multiple artists throughout the years, but it's a rather large hardback book. Uh, it's got all the initial box art from like Secret of Mana. This is another one from Secret of Mana. There's Trials of Mana here, the one that was just recently released to the US for the first time. The world map from the Trials of Mana here. And then the Dawn of Mana, which we never really got. And then this is from the Sword of Mana game. And this was my initial game that I ever played in the Mana series. Never heard of it before, never knew it was a remake of the original Final Fantasy Adventure that was the spin-off, and I absolutely loved it. It's one of my top Game Boy Advance games I've ever played, and I still rank it up there. We did a podcast on my group with it not that long ago, so within a year. And then here was the Mana anniversary for, I think it was their 30th anniversary, and it's just all the characters from the Mana series, and it's got a really cutesy art style, but it's still got that fantasy element to it with a little bit of detail that makes it stand out and kind of gives it that unique Mana flair. And then here is a bunch of the Mana anniversary art here. Like, this is the remake of The Secret of Mana here. Uh, and then the characters from the Trials of Mana. And then it's divided up to 3 different sections. Mostly it's different games, with the final chapter being like collaborations that they did with other games and stuff. But uh, I really didn't have a good separation here of the two because it really jumps around. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense of why they organized it the way they did, because if you wanted to do chronologically, it jumps into modern games here, and then there's chapter 2 in the middle of it all. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But some more of the Secret of Mana right there. And here's how the series got its beginning. It was known as Final Fantasy Adventure for the Game Boy. I originally played it thinking it was a completely different game. Remember, I played Sword of Mana first, and then I was emulating Final Fantasy Adventure, and I was like, man, this is just like Sword of Mana. This is just like it. I was like, how did they not, like, what is this? And I'm like, this is the exact same story, and it pretty much is. But you can see the real inspirations of Final Fantasy in it here, and how the hero is inspired by like the Warriors of Light, and then the mysterious man is the Red Mage. They're replaced by different characters in the actual game, but Watts, the dwarf that's in every Mana game, it seems like. And this one actually had the Chocobo, which is a unique addition to the game. So this is original concept art and stuff, and like the instruction booklet, etc. So it's what they threw around with ideas, the golems here, and then the characters, Lester and Amanda. It's really cool seeing how they originally started, and then the Dark Lord and Julius, which it gives you some of the ideas that went into it and their development and stuff. Like, The Dark Lord is a cliched Dark Knight with a cruel personality. He doesn't know true love and stands in stark contrast to our hero. It's easy to tell that he's the bad guy. His armor still looks cool to me. It's got comments from the artist here inside of it. It's pretty cool. Also shows you the year and what game you're on. And then here's like all of the concept art for the little monsters, and you gotta love it. It's almost like they're so cute, like Pokemon or something. Like, totally adorable. And it's got the names for each one. And then it was originally known as Seiken Densetsu, but they made a mobile remake of the game, and that's how the modern remake of it came about. I think it's known as Adventures of Mana or something, but they made completely new concept art, stuff that was inspired by Secret of Mana, and just some very beautiful drawings of the characters. They're pretty pay homage to the original concept. And it's just neat seeing how it all evolved. Watt's looking a lot different. Marcy having some nice glowing spots. A lot of detail added to it. Yes, here it is. Adventures of Mana. And it originally started off as Final Fantasy Adventure, but you add this to it, the remake, and it's not fantastic, but it does have a lot of the charm that was originally in the game. So Final Fantasy Adventure didn't have a whole lot to it. It was one of the first action RPGs, and there was a lot that went into it. Just ironing out the action and everything and making it work in the game. So they didn't put too many systems on top of it. But the Secret of Mana is where they really started to like flesh out the characters. And here they are with their original concepts made in clay. The characters from Secret of Mana were originally concept art with clay, and they made a stuffed animal, Flammy. That's how they got their characters designs. It's pretty different then than how they do it now. So, interesting nonetheless. And then the details of like all the different characters, their designs. Yamaoka characters really began when I saw his character sprites. I thought, well, I guess I don't have to bother making them anymore. Yep. The sprites to the clay figures and everything. And then Flammy, the soft and fluffy dragon everybody loves, first drawn by Tanaka-san's wife, Hiromi. He was based on Falcor from the Neverending Story. And they made him to be chubbier and friendlier. And then Gemma, he's a sort of teacher. His look overlaps from Bogard from Final Fantasy Adventure, which is interesting because the original development team was known as the Gemma Knights, or Gemma, one or the other, I forget. But regardless, they were the initial developers, and they wound up being like integrated into Final Fantasy teams and stuff. So they worked the name Gemma in as a type of knight or character in the series. Regardless, you've got your mana sprites over here. The concept art for the box covers of the games of the remake of The Secret of Mana when they decided to drop it, which was also a mobile game that they ported to modern consoles, which did a little better, but it still had a lot of the mobile game feel to it. Not really as faithful to the original, because the original had such great sprites. It just didn't do it justice with the 3D characters, I feel like. But nonetheless, it is a viable option to get into the series. Also, they have the collection of mana if you were interested in it. But regardless, here's Randy, Prim, and Popoy, the main characters of the game. And then all the antagonists and everything, and how they were redesigned. And then you've got more notes by the artist. Here's the original rough sketches of them as they were being made. This art book is mostly about character design more than anything. You'll have like the box art and everything of the games, and then a little history about it, like the summary of the game that was on the box, etc. And then you've got your scenes here. Seiken Densetsu 3 seems to have more of it than the rest, because a lot of that's where they really started to throw around some concepts and get wild with it, which was sad, because that's where they really started to like build their own franchise, and then we never got it in the West until recently with the remake on the PlayStation 4, Switch, etc. Gourmand, it's just bringing back a lot of nostalgia, because you see recurring characters, they're slightly diversified. Like Salamander here, they went for a more less defined approach for the Dijin and the sprites here, spirits. And then Collection of Mana. This is what they ported to the Switch, and it has all the original games translated in English. So you have Final Fantasy Adventure, Secret of Mana, and Seiken Densetsu 3, Trials of Mana 3. So it's 3 games in one, and I plan to be purchasing it very soon. So then there was Dawn of Mana, which introduced some contrasting concepts to the series, making an action RPG with grappling elements and resetting levels and things that don't really transfer from level to level, and making it more of a level-based experience, more of an action adventure than an RPG, much to the chagrin of the fans. So the thing is, though, a lot went into this character design, and the Dawn of Mana is also like the start of the series. If you read into the lore and everything, it's actually like they take a different stance on a lot of the characters, and it just gives it a little different life, and I feel like it really plays a good role in the storytelling of the series. But the mechanics were added in at the last second, and they didn't really refine them a whole lot, so it kind of hurt the series in the long run. Like, they threw around some concepts for like different ideas of ways that they could use the vines, which was the mechanic that a lot of people weren't really fond of. They used it to kind of give it its own unique mechanic, but it was thrown in at the last minute, pretty much, which you'll see in the character designs when they're talking about it. The artist had to redesign the character to integrate the vines into the character, and it was a lot of last minute reworks, and some of the initial characters got scrapped, but the initial character design from Dawn of Mana was used in the DS game Children of Mana. Well, you flip through this and you see so many designs and just so much detail for the Dawn of Mana game. So they threw a lot of ideas and concepts into it, and they kind of ruined it with the game mechanics, but it's not a horrible game, and I'm going to give it another run here soon, just because there's so much detail in this book, and there's so much work that went into that game, and it was not realized. Many people skipped over it, myself included, and I plan to give it another run. However, my favorite portion of this book is in the Legend of Mana. The character portraits and designs, a lot of it carried over to like the Sword of Mana series, and I've got to say, I am just a huge fan of this art style. It's I don't even know what it is, maybe like some watercolors in addition to hard lines. It's just, I'm not an artist, but I gotta say, I love it. And it's got like designs of like the different encounters you'll have throughout the game. And Legend of Mana is a very unique game, open-ended, with scenarios that you play through pretty much with your choice of characters, and it's a very unique take. But the thing is, there's such a huge cast of characters in that series, in that game, and people just don't know about this game really. And we just recently saw a release of it, and I am so excited for people to finally get a chance to play it. I hope that nobody sleeps on this, because the amount of character art and design and the different methodology that they put into it, it's just very unique. They have some very out there designs and everything, and they're pretty much made a design for the quest, and they gave it to the artist, and the artist pretty much fulfilled a character that would fit the bill and play the role well. And the thing is, they have so much to work with. Like, you see all these characters with like roots for hair, and they look like reptiles, and it's just a very unique, fantastical world that you can really experience anything in. With all these character designs, it just really gives you a sense of wonder as you uncover the world. And it goes into more detail for some of the character designs. Not all of them, because there's so many for The Legend of Mana. But you got like the Antarctic pirates, which are penguins. It's great. If you haven't watched it or played it, I highly recommend it. It can be a little hard to navigate, but there's just so much to uncover and experience, and you are likely to miss some of it, but there's just so much in the game. And this was my first Mana game, and I will never forget it. And the character design is very similar to the Legend of Mana series, and I love this character art, and I have the game. I am going to get the box eventually and add it to the collection. This is one of my favorite Game Boy Advance games. The character design, the sprite work, the whole plot, everything. I just love this game. The action, the ring menu system, it was something I'd never really experienced before, and it just had so much character to it. And that's the thing about this game, this series. They're very simplistic in their design, but they convey such a unique impression, even at first glance. And it's something that's hard to find in a series that really has that simplistic impression, yet a fantastical world full of depth that you can explore if you want. And here we have the DS games, the spin-offs. This one's more of a dungeon crawler, but it's the Children of Mana, and it's what they took the original design of Dawn of Mana and integrated it into the game of the DS. They took the main character anyway, and Flammy, and some of the other designs that were scrapped after they decided to rework the Dawn of Mana, and they integrated it into the DS game. And they have a pretty good design. They had a shift in it, but I'm more of a fan of the more Legend of Mana style. However, I do enjoy this style as well. It's very simplistic in some areas, has more of a sketchbook, storybook look. And then you've got stuff that looks like it's from a Studio Ghibli film. Some pretty epic bosses here too. But the thing is, the monsters in this game are just so cute half the time. And in Legend of Mana, you can collect them, and I just love that aspect of it. So there's just a whole cast of characters, and they put a little spin on them that makes them stand out in a little different way. It's not completely unique, but it does have its own appeal. And then there's Friends of Mana. It was a mobile game, and it's based on The Legend of Mana. It never... I think it was like a MMO kind of for your phone. It had some pretty good sprite work, but it never came to the West. And then there was Heroes of Mana, and this is kind of like a you command your party all at once. You've got some encounters with bosses and stuff. You got classes. I've never really played this one, but I have it. It's just sitting in the backlog, the never-ending backlog. But anyway, you've got these lovely little designs and everything. And I think this might be the one where they integrated commanding your minions. I'm not entirely sure, but it doesn't really look like it. There's one where you could like kind of command a little cast of characters, almost like in an RTS style. But and then there was Rise of Mana, another iOS game that never came west. But it's got a chibi art style, which honestly kind of fits right in with the monsters of the series. But they have some pretty good artwork that went with it as well. It's just kind of sad that we never get anything like this, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of mobile games. I like my games to be a single, all-in-one package. I don't want to have to buy DLC or pay for something that I'm otherwise going to have to grind for hours for no reason. Regardless, they have some pretty great designs. I love the little Chavin hood here. It has a unique design. The gargoyles, orcs, this game has some very unique art styles to it that you don't see in other Mana games, and it would be kind of neat to at least get to experience that. And then here's the final chapter, where they have all their collaborations, where they worked in with Lord of Vermilion, which I think was a mobile game as well, but like a card game or something. Regardless, they had all these character cards, and it's some pretty solid artwork. Gormand, great character. He plays a good role in most of the games. Lady Black Pearl from Legend of Mana. And then you've got the interviews about each individual game with a little insight to the artists and everything. So it covers every game pretty much, just every mainline game. But there isn't a whole lot of like environment concept art and everything. It's mostly just characters, but it does have insight from the artists and how they had to like simplify some of the characters or the color palettes to make it fit the game. Regardless, it's a great little book, and it's $20 on Amazon. You can't beat that. It's hardback, and it's going to last. It's made by Dark Horse. This came with it as well, but it's pretty much just like the back of the game, or the art book. An intimate look at the first 25 years of Mana Magic. Available in English for the first time. It's pretty phenomenal. Celebrating the first 25 years of Mana Adventures. Game's first released in 1991, Square Enix has been dazzling fans worldwide with a fantastical and action-packed world of Mana. It's published by Dark Horse Books and Square Enix, and it's a solid quality product. And if you see it here, it's priced at $40, but I got it for $20 on Amazon. They've been having a lot of sales here recently on art books, and I gotta say, for stuff like this, I'm a sucker, and I highly think it was worth it. It's one of my favorite series, and I would love to have more of it. So, tell me what you think. If you're gonna go ahead and try to grab one of these yourself, let me know. And Hit that thumbs up button if you like the content, and subscribe if you want to see any future videos. I appreciate it very much. And I wish you all a very happy day.